Aloha, my dear darlings. Hello from the other side. Hello Friday. Hello history lesson. Okay, welcome to the second part of the Romans invade Britain. Now, last week I read to you a text and I showed you some videos of the first part of this class. So now we're going to continue on it. Now, the way we're going to continue is by reading the second page. The other day was page 2, and this time it's page 3. So we're going to continue with this story. Now, we're talking about year 55 BC. Remember that I told you that means before Christ? And an army general from Rome called Julius Caesar invaded Britain. Now, do you know who Julius Caesar was? Well, he was a Roman general. And this is what he sort of looked like. Now, that's not a picture because in 55 before Christ was a really, really long time ago. Technology was nowhere near being anywhere the same, and there were no pictures, guys. There were only statues made of marble, some were made of other materials, and that's how we know what Julius Caesar looked like. So this image, he looks like an old man. Well, he's a rigid Italian nose, and he looks very serious. And you see he's wearing this flower crown that has a name. I'll tell you a little bit later. And he's dressed sort of like a gladiator. All right, so he was born in July 100 BC in Rome, Italy, and he died March 15, 44 BC in Rome. This might be a little bit hard for you to understand how he was born in 100 and he died in 44. Now, I'm going to briefly explain to you how that happens. We have a timeline like we had the other day. Our time begins AD, and anything before it, you measure it from smallest to biggest. So he was born in 100, which is really back, and he died closer to AD. So it's the simplest way that I can explain to you this right now. I'm not going to get into deep, but he was approximately 60 something years old when he died. He was best known for being the dictator of Rome and putting an end to the Roman Republic. Now, what problems do you think an army general from Rome might have had when invading Britain? Well, we're going to read exactly about that. Now, the subtitle or the heading of this paragraph is called A Stormy Invasion. It's giving you a hint about how this invasion was. Now here we have, again, Julius Caesar. In this case, he's covered with something on his face, some fur from some animal to keep his face warm. Let's read. When Caesar came to Britain, he wasn't prepared for British weather. He was born near the Mediterranean Sea, which is mostly calm and only has a small change in tides. I'm going to show you where the Mediterranean Sea is. Now, let's take this map, and this is the Mediterranean Sea. Over here at the very top, we have Europe. Now, I already told you he was an Italian guy in Rome. This dot right here is Rome, where the capital of Italy is. And at the bottom, all of this is Italy. So all of this is the Mediterranean Sea. It borders the most part of southern Eastern Europe, okay, on this side. Slovenia, Croatia, Greece, Spain. It doesn't get to Portugal because Portugal gets on the other side. So France, for example, is Mediterranean Sea at the bottom and Atlantic Ocean at the very top of the northwest, sort of. Remember that we studied north, south, east, and west in class? Okay. Now that you know where that is, that was a pretty warm weather. It's very hot, totally the opposite of Britain. When he arrived in the English Channel, the storms and high tides battered his ships. Now, battered means destroyed. Now, let's look at the English Channel. Now, from down here, he would have to sail over here and get down to this side. And when you got to the English Channel, which is this body of water that divides France from the United Kingdom or Britain, is called the English Channel, and it's the best waterway to get to Britain. It has a lot of storms, you get a lot of rain, it's very cold, totally the opposite of the Mediterranean Sea, which is quite an easy body of water. Now, another problem was that Caesar's ships were big and heavy. They had to anchor in deep water away from the shoreline. Do you understand what away from the shoreline means? Well, when you go to a beach, right at the limit of land where you actually have water is called the shore. So all of this that I'm pointing at with my mouse is the shoreline. That's where you can actually step onto land. That's where you have sand. Anywhere further away from that is deep water. So the only thing that you can do is swim. There, you can't touch your feet with the sand. So they would have to leave their boat really in deep water so that, because the boats were so heavy that they couldn't arrive closer to land because they would get destroyed. That was a big problem for Julius Caesar and his boats. Now, moving on to the rest. Caesar's soldiers had to jump into cold water and wade to shore in full armor. Now, there's a bunch of words here that maybe you don't understand. Wade is a verb, okay? It means to walk in water or something else that makes movement slower or more difficult. For example, the soldiers waded slowly through the tall grass. In this case, they had to jump into that freezing cold water with all their armor, which is made of iron, because we're talking about the Iron Age last week, and all of that heavy equipment, and really make an effort to get to shore. Now, let's read this paragraph. Before that, let's read this little tiny question. How well do you think they were able to fight once they reached shore? Imagine a very tired soldier, very tired from having to make such an effort to get to shore. And then they had to fight. How do you fight when you're tired? That's a big question for all of us. Okay, so moving on, success for Caesar. Do you think Caesar managed to conquer Britain in 55 BC? Well, we're about to find out. Caesar won some battles and took some hostages. What are hostages, you might ask yourself? A hostage is a noun, so in this case it's a person. It is someone held prisoner by a person or group trying to force another person or group to meet certain demands. So he would capture people. Caesar would capture some people and keep them until the other side that he was trying to defeat in Britain would give him his demands. But when autumn brought the stormy weather again, Caesar took his soldiers back to Gaul. This is an area where countries like France, Belgium, and the Netherlands are today. And let me show you a little picture. Back many years ago in 55 BC, and even in all humankind, maps were not always aligned the way we have them. So this was Britain, but this wasn't so divided into all the countries we know today are in Europe. So this is Gaul. It would be all of this area that you see highlighted in yellow. Now, he planned to return the next year to conquer Britain. Was Britain too different to Rome? Caesar didn't succeed in taking over Britain on his first invasion. At that time, Britain was very different to Rome. But the things that caught Caesar out the most were the tides and the weather. Caesar hadn't given up, though, and still planned to return the next year. Okay, kids, that'll be all the activity that we have for today. I do have a worksheet that is attached to this email. It's a Word document. You can do it in a computer or in your tablet if you have the opportunity. Just answer some questions, review this video, and of course, you know where to find me if you don't understand something. I'll see you next week. I'll see you on Monday for some other great lessons. Bye-bye, kids.